our Native American land acknowledgement at 6 o'clock, and we're in order. So today we want to begin our meeting in our school year by acknowledging that we gather as David Douglas School District on the traditional land of the Multnomah, Wasco, Cowlitz, Calumet, Clackamas, bands of Chinook, Tualatin, Kailapuya, Molala, and many other tribes, past and present, who made their homes along the Columbia and Willamette rivers, and honoring with gratitude the land itself and the people who have stewarded it through the generations. We further want to acknowledge the impact of the forced removal, violence, and attempted erasure of the lives and legacies of Indigenous people, past and present, and to commit to creating an educational environment that honors Indigenous history and contributions, and encourages the continued pursuit of better stewardship of the land we inhabit as well. And we will get started. Oh, yes. And just so everyone's aware, Althea is online, so she's on the phone right next to Sarah, listening in from Turkey. So, yeah. So let's get started with public comment. We have one person signed up, Craig Rogers.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here on such a beautiful day. Outside. And first I want to make sure that this is recorded, correct?
Yes.
Oh. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Thanks. So, intuition means in tune with. And, sometimes if you clear the table and you're kind of clear to hear, it's amazing what can unfold right in front of you. It's like magic. So this has been a concern for several months now because I'm watching it. I don't know if you knew Lieutenant Lacey Sparling out of East Portland Police Precinct, but she knew that I could see from where I live, I could see all that's going on. So here, August 7th and 9th, front page, young e-bike, e-scooter riders, and they were smart enough to say e-bike and e-scooters because both of them, injuries soaring, 7.5-fold between January 2023 and May 2026. And I'm watching these kids. Sometimes they'll be like 3, 4, 5 years old, 3 of them on a scooter, and they're, going. But then when they get a little older, they want to wind that thing out as fast as they can go when they hit the straightaways. And see, I'm right there next to the school, that track. I put 11 laps around it today, and it's getting dangerous. And motivation is duty of care, which is a requirement that a person act towards others in the public with the watchfulness, attention, caution, and prudence that a reasonable person in the circumstance would use. If a person's actions do not meet this standard of care, then the acts are considered negligent, and any damages resulting may be claimed in a lawsuit for negligence. Well, all that's out there is on the supply building, a little sign that says no motorized vehicles, which is a real joke. And then you got to educate people with a motor. They think that if it's electric, it's not motorized, but if it's gas, it's depending on who you talk to. And these kids think that. So there's some ways to go down the road to bump this up. And I live right there next since 1978. And here's what people showing up with their dogs, running all over, You know what? Nobody's out there now without a leashed dog. So it takes time. And you got to start somewhere. Every journey starts with the first step. And right here is a journey that needs to be taken because these kids, some of them are dying. In fact, over on the Springwater Trail, there was an elderly woman that was hit by a kid speeding by on an e-bike. So there needs to be some focus on this because, the lawyers would just be waiting for the injuries, and there's a lot of them out there. See, And you need something more than just a little sign on the side of the equipment shed that says no motorized vehicles. So, I mean, collectively, there's a lot of smart people sitting here. So put your heads together and come up with something that's reasonable to apply out there. Because I'm watching it every day. I mean, some of them are going, and see, I always ran track, so the fastest person, like 200 meters worldwide, they're doing about 28, 29 miles an hour. These people are going at least 30 and more. So anyway, that's really all I had to say, but it's serious and it's important because you could really financially take it into shorts if somebody gets injured out there. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
And I think that's the only one we had signed up today. So now we can move on to DDA comment. And as Alice comes up here, I will mention that to ask that we're being recorded. Yes, all our meetings are live streamed on YouTube, and then they will be there after the meeting as well.
Hello, good evening. Nice to see you all. I'm Alice Eberharder, the president of the David Douglas Education Association, our licensed union. Excuse me. As all of you know, things are ramping back up for our next school year from the license side of things, as from the admin and classified and school board side of things, I imagine. One thing that I know you know, but I just feel obligated to say is that going into this school year, I do anticipate this fall looking and feeling a little bit different because of the cuts in staff we've made this year. That class sizes are going to be bigger, support from our classified colleagues is going to be stretched thinner, and that our students are going to end up feeling that just like we do as staff. So just keeping that in our awareness, keeping that kind of on our radar of what does that look like, how does that feel, what is the impact there. Another piece I wanted to just put on the table, as you all know, we're going to continue to bargain this fall. We are working without a contract now that we're past the end of June. And I know bargaining, especially as you get further along, can get contentious, can get stressful, can get escalated in terms of actions from staff and union members. I just want to name that is a thing that happens, that is normal. It is never personal. That is historically the leverage that labor has. It is not about anyone on any team individually. It is just about our power is in our collective action, and that's what that looks like. Along the same lines, I am really conscious that in this role, especially during bargaining, I'm often wearing two hats. One of those is around negotiations, and then of course one is working with you all every day and continuing to support staff as they're just navigating their daily work. And that I really try to keep my thought process clear about, today I need to have this hat on. Okay, now we're doing this other thing, so I have to switch a little bit. And I guess I want to encourage administrators and leaders in the district to be mindful that we are trying to do that switch. And if compartmentalization a little bit is a piece that helps on your end, I invite you to join me. Because every day doing this work, whether it's kind of that emotional labor of switching your perspective, or just the work we all do, we are still working, I believe, towards the same goal of a good contract for staff that makes us a competitive district to work in, and being able to provide a great education to our kids. So I think I know we are all aligned in the same direction long term, and I definitely feel that short term it can feel hard to be in the middle of it. Even with all of that, I do see places we are aligning now, even while we're in the middle of bargaining. I was just working with some great administrators today talking about the new professional learning system we're hoping to roll out, I think in October, around licensed staff being able to give each, kind of put on trainings for each other and get credit for it on the salary schedule, which is really exciting. That if like our folks know what is going to be extremely useful, what would they have liked to learn about if they were an early career educator, right? And sharing that with each other in a supportive way that also can kind of build that credit on the salary schedule. We're continuing to do work on the walking school bus project around, this is coming out of our immigration support MOU last year, inviting community members and staff members to collaborate and participate in helping kids get to school in a safe, fun way that makes it exciting to start the day. And bigger picture, I think there's, especially with elections in November coming up, there's always that thought process about, can we align in supporting and advocating for pro-education candidates in Salem and helping that stay a priority or become even more of a priority for our legislators. Before I close, I was thinking about this opportunity I have every month to come and speak with you. And I'm wondering for our school board members, is there anything that would be helpful for me to bring to you on a more regular basis? Specific information or specific perspectives? So far, my approach has kind of been what's going on right now. But if there's something that would be useful for you to be hearing more consistently, I'm really happy to bring that to the table as well. So thank you for listening. Thanks for your time. And yeah, appreciate it.
Thanks, Alice. Do we have OSCA Chapter 40 comment today? No? Okay. So let's move on to the consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
Move consent agenda.
Second. Thank you. Any discussion? No? Okay. Start over there.
Franklin, I.
Stevens, aye.
Jordan, I.
Epstein, I.
Stevenson, aye.
Germergerson, aye. Consent agenda passes. Great. Now on to high school start time. We have Barb McDermott, I believe. Hi, welcome. Turn on the mic. Yep.
The
Perfect.
expert. Thank you. Good evening. We're so glad to be here on this topic of start times for high school. I'm only going to speak a little bit. My name is Barb McDermott. I'm a health teacher and have worked with all these wonderful students over the last year. Next slide, please. Who's doing the slides? So generally, we're going to give a context, student testimony, a little bit of research, and you're going to hear about Multnomah Youth Commission, which May has served on in the past. Next slide, please. You got two.
Oh. Yeah. Well, let me do a little introduction. My name is Minapa Jantanavong. I'm a 2026 David Douglas graduate and a member of the Multnomah Youth Commission. For context, this is the official youth policy body of both the City of Portland and Multnomah County. So it's a youth-run organization for youth, by youth, focused on policy issues. In 2017, the school district first brought up the issue of later high school start times. And in this conversation, the district commissioned a study from the University of Portland to figure out whether or not later high school start times were beneficial. The research shows that yes, later high school start times do support students. While there were no changes back then, this remains a key issue for youth. Last year, the Multnomah Youth Commission, alongside Senator Lou Frederick, brought a bill to the Oregon House Education Committee for Oregon high schools to start no later than 8:30 a.m. While the bill did not pass, it shows the significance of youth issues for this topic.
I'm taking the next two. So the David Douglas, it shouldn't say high school, but school district strategic plan coming up that we're about to adopt. A couple of the pillars are particularly relevant. Pillar 2 about student learning growth and achievement. We have so much research that people cannot learn when they're sleepy or exhausted. And Pillar 4, healthy and safe environments. One of the community members commented basic student needs should be considered an essential prerequisite. And then the equity, the next one over, the David Douglas School District Equity Advisory Committee, which these young folks were on this past year. So Dana, hello. And that group discussed this, and Ken was there that evening, and the group affirmed that we wanted to ask the school board to, and superintendent to reopen this issue, look at the harms that lack of sleep has disproportionate impact on low-income and BIPOC students. So May's going to continue, but can we jump down about 20 slides? We kind of changed the order after. Keep going until you see
Slide
some-
21, I think. Should
Slide 21. It's
Yeah.
you'll see some green graphics all of a sudden. So go about 10 more slides. Keep going, keep going, keep going. When you see some green graphics pop up.
There we
There
go.
we go. Okay.
So, the Multnomah Youth Commission Education and Youth Voice Subcommittee identified chronic absenteeism as a key issue in Oregon schools. After some research, we realized that later high school start times could combat those issues while prioritizing the well-being of students. Next slide. So, this is a chart showing some of the Oregon start times around not only Portland, but all around Oregon. I'd like to mention that there's some schools that are not mentioned on here, like Reynolds, who has a start time of 8:45 a.m., as well as Portland Publics, who start their high school at 8:30. It's only reasonable to follow the trends of supporting student health. Next slide. There's a lot of tangible benefits that come with later high school start times, as seen by this graph. My favorite fact is that with more sleep, students show a 9% increase in accuracy for basketball free throws. So maybe our team might, get a little more accuracy. There's also some other benefits in here, such as a 4.5% median increase in GPA, as well as lower risk of car accidents. And if this was put on in a nationwide initiative, there would be a lot of economic benefits associated with later high school start times. Next slide. Overall, later high school start times support student success and promote long-term success for our students, well-being, health, and academics. And can we go back to slide 4?
Now we're going to hear from a few of the students here, and then hear some more research. So let's see. I think Austin and Connie. Austin's going to read for Connie, and then Gabby. Okay? Yes, I'm going to step out here.
Hello, I am Austin Parham, and I am going to be reading my own anecdotes about early school start times, and I'm also going to read some research done by my friend Connie Lane Mayhew. Okay. I'm an incoming sophomore at David Douglas, and freshman year was an all-time low for me when it came to overall sleep quality and mental health. Ask any of my friends I knew in middle school, I was a completely different person. I would often lash out at or to my friends. I was sleeping in classes more often, and I would lose track of what peers and teachers were trying to say, and I would fall behind on classes that were a relative walk in the park for me in middle school. Something that worries me even more is that my sister will be transitioning into her freshman year in September and will most likely deal with the same things I dealt with last year and will most likely face again this year due to the lack of sleep. And then this is research done by Connie. Hello, David Douglas School Board. I am Connie Lane Mayhew, going into my sophomore year at David Douglas. I would like to share some statistics on how the start time has been impacting students' education. I surveyed 30 students, 15 who go to David Douglas, which starts at 7:40 a.m. I also asked 15 students who go to different schools that start after 8 a.m. I first asked David Douglas here are the questions. When you get to school in the morning, are you more tired or awake? 73% of students said that they are more tired than awake. My second question was, do you ever fall asleep through any of your classes? And 87% of students answered yes. My third question was, have you consistently arrived at school late due to early start times? To which 60% of students answered yes. The 15 other students that I had surveyed currently go to different high schools in Portland Public Schools and other districts. Asked them the same question, and their results were very different to the question. When you go to school in the morning, are you more tired or awake? 73% answered awake. For do you ever fall asleep during any of your classes? 20% answered yes. Next was, have you consistently arrived at school late due to start time? 60% answered no. I believe if our school time starts later, our students may have a higher percentage for success and higher passing rates.
Good evening, school board members. My name is Gabriella Saley, a student entering into sophomore year at David Douglas. During my freshman year, I experienced two very different academic environments. At Clackamas Middle College, where classes began at 8 a.m., I maintained excellent grades and attendance. However, upon transferring back to David Douglas, where the classes starts at 7 a.m., I noticed a decline in my academic performance and attendance. This shift is correlated with increased fatigue, demonstrating a clear link between school start time, my long-standing sleep struggles, and ability to succeed. I've always struggled with sleep to the point I needed medication prescribed by my doctors. I'm a dedicated student with a genuine desire to learn, but the early start time makes it incredibly hard for me. Therefore, adjusting school schedules affects student well-being. Investing in sleep now is an investment in our future success. Thank you for listening.
You can just want to do your personal things? You want to do your personal testimony? Thank you. Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Jay here, and I'll be next year's ASB Vice President of Equity and Wellness. Today I bring my testimony about how earlier start times can affect not only each student's personal school environment, but also the school in general. And I want to begin with our zero period classes, which right now are jazz band and weights. These classes, mainly jazz band, in which I participate in, are a systematic form of a class where if you miss your important part of the class, of course. And for many freshmen, this is a very desired class in which everyone wants to participate in. We have two jazz bands this next year. And to begin with, jazz band is a class that a lot of people drop second semester, and that really affects the performance of the band, mainly for freshmen. It's a highly desired class, and oftentimes kind of sad just seeing freshmen just kind of drop out of it and just not be able to keep up with it because the school start time are so early, especially for zero period starting at 6:30, 6:40 a.m. So overall, that's a student engagement issue, and also causes social issues in the school environment in general. Personal events for me are I take hard classes like many others in high school, and due to my natural sleep cycles, it's very hard to maintain these helpful habits that each student should have to complete homework on time, to go to sleep early, and wake up early. So by my natural sleep cycles, waking up at, let's say, 5:20 to go to zero period is very unrealistic for a teenage person, especially in high school. And another thing I want to bring up is breakfast. I don't know if you guys would agree or not, but for many students, it's for many teachers, it's essential to keep breakfast available for students, because research shows that it's helpful for a student to be engaged in school. But oftentimes students don't eat breakfast so early in the morning, like 7:20, 7:30 in the morning, because it's not appealing to them. For example, me on Wednesdays, I always eat breakfast at school on Wednesdays because it's later in the school day, and I never eat breakfast 7:20, 7:30 when I get to school, because that's kind of it doesn't make me feel good. So by pushing later school times, That would help the breakfast consumption in school, and later on help on with engagement and overall well-being of the student body. So that's pretty much it what I have today, and I'll pass it to you.
Thank you.
Give
Yehir.
me just like 1 more minute, whatever you think is most important.
Oh, well, if you want to go to the study that was commissioned by the David Douglas School District, it's on, I don't know what side it's on, but. Okay, I took AP Psych and I got a 4,
14.
but what I learned in AP Psych, the first thing I ever learned was that students need sleep. It's recommended that students get at least 8 hours minimum, but it's like the recommended is like 8 to 10, but 8's the minimum, right? But the thing is, with our circadian rhythm, which is your body's natural sleep cycle, you have to, well, for adolescents, like teens, 13 to 17, or like 18, students usually fall asleep around 10, 11 p.m., maybe even 12 a.m. But with how our current start time is, students may be waking up around 6:30, 7 maybe if they're like rushing. But with the idea that our bodies naturally fall asleep around 10 p.m., you're only getting about 7 hours of sleep. That's still less than the 8 hours minimum. I don't know if we have more time, but there's like fact stuff. Oh, okay. 14, slide 14. Is it? Oh, yep.
Actually, can you skip ahead 2 more? There we go.
Oh, no, one more back.
Back 1, sorry. I'll let you speak, May.
Oh, so this is from the 2018 study from the University of Portland commissioned by the David Douglas School District. And it was reported that athletic programs had an increased improvement in team performance, which also relates back to that, 9% accuracy for free throws. Next slide, and another slide after that, 2 slides. In addition, with insufficient sleep, there's a lot of health problems that go with it. As seen in the quote, there's a lack of motivation, decreased impulse control, and poor emotional regulation among students. In addition, insufficient sleep is linked to decreased concentration and thinking skills, as well as poor communication, which leads to higher risk for things like obesity, diabetes, and hypertension, as well as high blood pressure. I think that might be on the next slide, actually. Yeah. You could go to the next slide as well. But overall, a lack of sleep for students impacts their memory, learning ability, focus, and attention. With just a little more shut-eye, students will be able to avoid the risk of sleep deprivation with a school schedule that matches their body's natural rhythm. I think that's all I have.
I think that's it. If there's any questions, we'd love to answer.
Yes.
Thank you. Does anyone have questions?
What's your fantasy start time?
My fantasy start time, 8:30 a.m. or later.
For 0 period or
Or for zero period?
right, and it just how about starting at 0 period? What's your all of you your fantasy start time?
For 0 period, I was talking to a few other schools, and their 0 period starts around like 7:30 or like 7:20, so around our school time, kind of. So that would be my fantasy.
What would be your ideal start time? 8:40.
Just say 8:30.
8:30 would be okay. Good question.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I had a few questions, but thank you for presenting. Y'all are pretty amazing. Do you know if you have any examples of what the economic benefits are to the later start times?
Oh, so it was from a study a while ago, but the $8 billion is like if the entire nation were to like go into it, but it has things to do with not only just like the short term, but the long term benefits, such as like student success, because that goes to the future, and that's also, so it links up like that.
Okay. Yeah, I was also imagining what that looks like for staff start times, and I didn't have a 0 period when I was in high school, so hearing that y'all were up at 5, that's wild. And then I had a question, maybe not for you all, but for us at these desks is how it would affect hours and days of the year. Because I know there's requirements for all of that, so maybe that's something we can look into. And then, does any of this research look into the student routines at night? Like how that does affect what time you wake up or how well you sleep?
For the circadian rhythm, it's like it's the body's natural clock. So as you age, it shifts as well as like when you're younger kids tend to wake up earlier, but that's part of the body's natural clock. But in your question about routines, there is things with like putting your phone away early, like those things definitely affect your sleep cycle, but it's not as significant as just like your regular circadian.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
With the Multnomah Youth Commission that you're still on?
Yeah, for the summer.
When you worked with Senator Frederick and tried to bring it to the legislature, do you think that's something that you're going to be attempting again?
I think it's we're working on a different project currently, so it's like we're not sure about it yet, so I can't really say much, but it's something we want to talk about again for sure.
Because California did the similar, right?
Yeah.
They made start time a minimum of no earlier than 8:30. That's the law there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for doing this work. I mean, I think the data is really robust, and I appreciate you bringing these key kind of statistics along with it, and the economic impact. I know, like you said, is probably taken into account some of those figures too, like car accidents and so forth. So, do you see any challenges? I think one of the things that's come up that I've heard anyway is around how late that extends like sports into the evening. So if you're getting out of school an hour later, then maybe the basketball team isn't coming home till 11 instead of 10. Like, do you have any thoughts on kind of that end of it?
I used to work at Roosevelt High School, which ended at 3:30, and a lot more kids would have to leave. Your excuse for 8th period, the bus is leaving. At this school, it's rare that athletes have to miss the end of the day for getting on the bus to go. So, I mean, there's some benefit to the athletes in terms of not missing as much class, but they're missing out on sleep. And then, of course, I would say that, all the students deserve more sleep versus some athletes who want a better schedule. I think we prioritize all students first.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Have you talked to any of your classmates that have jobs and how this would affect, because a lot of our students have jobs, how I'm all about more sleep, but would that work with people having part-time jobs in addition to school?
It's usually juniors and seniors, right?
Yeah, it usually is juniors and seniors. You want to talk about it, or?
It's not.
Okay, so I know a lot of people with part-time jobs, especially like in the service industry, and usually, from what I know from my friends, is that they have a lot of leeway because sometimes it's like a tight-knit community when it comes to working, but it's like just a matter of getting that schedule adjusted ahead of time rather than just like a day before. It's like everything's about pre-planning.
Thank you so much. Anything else? Okay. Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And next on the agenda, we have the Family Ambassador Report. We're a little ahead, so is everyone here for the Family Ambassador Report? Yes? Great.
Everybody, a lot of them.
While they're getting themselves ready, this is, we have family ambassadors from cohort 1 and cohort 2.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. As you can see, we have many family ambassadors here to share, so I will be quick with introductions. My name is Cassie Wood. I am the Family and Community Partnership Supervisor, and I have the honor and privilege of working with all of our family ambassadors.
Hello, I am Kaylee Bunch-Woodson, and I have one student in the David Douglas School District, and he will be a first grader next year at Ventura Park.
Hi there, I'm Dana Danger, and I have one student at here at the high school who's a senior this year, named Oliver.
Hello, I am Katrina Whittle, and I have an incoming 7th grader at Ron Russell Middle School, Hope Pearson.
Good evening. My name is Carla. I have 3 kids at Menlo Park, 3rd grade, 2nd grade, and kindergarten.
Hi, I'm Natasha. I have 4 kids in David Douglas. I have 2 going into 3rd graders at Ventura Park, and I have an 8th grader and a 7th grader at Floyd Light Middle School. All girls.
Hi, my name is Amy. I have an incoming freshman this year to David Douglas High School, and I have a 4th grader at Cherry Park. Oh, cohort 2.
Hello, everyone. My name is TD. Good to see everyone. Family Engagement Specialist in David Douglas School District.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Abby Jufu Clark. I'm a Family Engagement Specialist here at David Douglas.
Next slide, please. I'm Carla. I'm from the first cohort. We had 8 family ambassadors last year. The first, and they came back again this year. 5 of them are coming back. We met 4 times last year. Welcome back. We met with the technology department to discuss AI and how we can use them in the schools with toolkits. We also met with Florence and Sarah to discuss PBIS in the district, and as well in May we met for a celebration. One of the years, we also met throughout the year about how to, we met in the program to provide feedback, to provide feedback for the program and to participate in a focus group to come up with or give ideas for the strategic plan. One of the things that I did this year was co-host a Spanish focus group to have them bring ideas for the strategic plan. Next slide, please.
I'm part of cohort 2. This is my first year being a family ambassador. So my cohort had 21 originally that was active, and we have 14 that are going to be returning this year. So that's very exciting. What I really enjoyed about the opportunity of learning from the different speakers that came to all of the meetings, we had monthly meetings, and we got to learn a lot, and then being able to incorporate and explore ways to better support the families of David Douglas. I just really enjoyed being a part of that.
Natasha. I'll just kneel here.
Hello. So you can see on this slide for cohort 2, the workshops that we attended this year were Welcome Back, Educational Technology and Use of AI, Attendance, DEI and Special Ed, Student Behavior and PBIS, Path to Graduation and Celebration. And I really appreciated Florence's presentations on SPED and PBIS. And what I thought was super interesting was the session that we did on AI. My son's going into 1st grade, so he was in kindergarten last year. He's not a current user of AI per se, but I was super impressed by the policies that have already been established and the procedures that I think last year was the first year of implementation, and also all of the feedback that the district elicited from staff and from students themselves. I thought that was super cool. And then there was a demo that we got to see of the tool that students are able to use, and I thought that it was really cool that it has guardrails in place for students to be able to utilize AI in appropriate ways, but to not replace them doing the actual work. So I just thought, like, I was really impressed that the district is being proactive as they can in leveraging the power of AI, but still having the guardrails in place for students. Next slide, please.
I felt like the most impactful session for me was the meeting about DEI and special education services. As a former foster parent and a family of color and a parent of 3 students with IEPs, I really connected to the topic personally, and it was really important to learn how the district approaches it, as I've only approached it as a parent. And so there was a lot I realized I didn't know from the side of the district, from the perspective of like teachers and like what else happens in that. And now I feel like I'm more capable of helping other families feel more comfortable navigating the process of IEPs and approaching DEI, and I feel like I can talk about it and navigate it with other families in what is not only a tough topic, but what can be a really emotional topic for families.
This was my first year, or last year was my first year. I enjoyed most the session that was about math and reading curricula and how it's chosen for the district. We got to do homework like we were in 5th grade or 3rd grade or 9th grade, and it was hard. And I am amazed at the teachers and the students that they do that every day. Let's see. So well done, teachers and students. I was glad to hear what care you all take in choosing the different programs, and that it's not tied to just one publishing house or another. Like each different area can look at different publishing houses, and not have to be tied to one. So.
I know. Hello, I'm reading an excerpt from Rhiannon, she's part of my cohort, so we're in this together, I guess. I don't know if she's coming back next year, but I haven't seen her. But the best part of being part of this group is that parents are able to meet together, learn more about the district and school's function, ask questions, and provide feedback to the district level leaders. Parents having FaceTime with decision makers is crucial to ensure true family engagement.
So I'm just going to talk about one of the key takeaways. In our last session of the year, last year, we played a bingo game, which was fun, but it was bingo about all of the ways, not all of the ways, a lot of ways that parents and family members can get involved in the district or in the school. And I had not heard of the vast majority of these activities. When I thought about getting engaged with the school or with the district, I thought PTO. And that was the only thing that I knew that I could do to get involved. So playing that game and learning all of the different ways that parents and family members can get involved that we don't know about and that we don't think about is huge. And I think my role, one of my roles, I see as communicating that out to parents and families so that people can get involved in ways that they're passionate about, that align with their students and their interests. And I hope that we have the opportunity to do that work in year 2.
Thank you. I'm also looking forward to coming back and returning for the new school year. Feedback that we provided included working more closely with the principals. I feel like that's been a bit of a gap. Having a pathway to families to connect with ambassadors, and how we can more structure around roles and responsibilities as an ambassador so that we can really get out there in the weeds and try to help people. Okay. Yeah. Shoot again. Thank you.
Returning ambassadors will meet each month to set goals, plan and execute projects, and participate in hands-on training to lead and participate in our interest areas such as tabling, leading groups, and facilitating workshops. Next slide, please.
This is the DDSD Family Ambassador Program. A digital copy has been shared with all of you. And thank you for providing us time to share about our experiences as a family ambassador. Are there any questions?
Thank you so much. Questions, anyone?
I just have a comment. I wanted to just jump on and express our sincere gratitude to all of you for taking the time out of your lives and being ambassadors in the community. I think those goals that you're working on, channels of communication with principals, from you to the rest of the community, those are excellent. And please come back, continue to come back so that we can have open dialogue from what community members as they, continue to establish trust with you. You can always report it anonymously, whatever helps. We're here to facilitate and support this process. And Carla, thank you for supporting a Spanish-speaking group. As many facets of our community as possible that can be involved in this is wonderful. So thank you all. And it's just really, and to the administrators of the group, thank you all.
Similar comment, but I just wanted to say that it's great that we've had workshops from inside administration and programs. The board would also love to be able to come and talk. So, we are supposed to be elected to represent the community, and the more that we can hear from families, the better, and also to let you know how we do our work. And so, if there's ways that we can work together. And I hope that in that bingo game, becoming a school board member was one of them, because I see a leadership pipeline right in this room.
I think you invite them on the night that you had to do homework. Let's get the board doing homework. No, I'm just kidding. I'd also just like to say thank you. Deepest gratitude, truly appreciated. And any topic, anytime, please, through the liaisons, just let us know. We'll make it happen. So thank you so much. Truly appreciated.
Yes, I'll also thank you. If you got enough, thanks. One more, and I'll add on to what Director Stevens was saying. I think it'd be great for us to be part of this process, not just at the end where there's a report, but I would love to be there to hear what you had to say about AI, because we've had those conversations and we include staff, we try to include our family members, but the more community we include in our decision making, the better. I think it takes all the pieces to actually get a good picture. So I'd love to know when these things are coming so we could be there just like to listen and take part. But again, thank you so much. And please just email us if you need anything.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we're a little ahead of schedule. So our next one, Performance Growth Targets for Education Accountability Act. Is everyone here? Yes? Great. Oh, just Elise. Okay.
Yes, so I won't take a lot of time, but I want to say thank you to Elise for taking the lead and presenting tonight. I want to recognize that this presentation, it's collaboration with the bigger group, and that's the Integrated Plan Group. And we have Ms. Valerie Hill, one of our assistant principals, David Douglas High School. We have Stacy Moncrief, Miss Stacy Moncrief, Student Services Administrator. We have Colleen Hathaway, our grants writer. They unfortunately were not able to make it tonight. We also have Florence Protopapas, and Brooke, part of the team. And again, like I said, I just want to give thanks to Elise Hall, our Assistant Director of Title Programs, for taking the lead tonight. So, Elise.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm here to present an informational overview on the Oregon Education Accountability Act, also known as Senate Bill 141, specifically regarding performance growth targets. So that'll be the focus for tonight. Next slide, please. So the purpose of tonight's presentation is to provide an overview of the Education Accountability Act in relation to setting performance growth targets as a district, to share our process and timeline for setting those local performance growth targets, and then to establish the context for when we return with the ODE approved goals, so that there'll be clarity on the process behind how we develop them, and then we can move into how we are working towards meeting those goals. Next slide. So the Oregon Education Accountability Act builds directly on the foundation of the Student Success Act. It continues our focus on improving academic outcomes, closing achievement gaps for marginalized students, and supporting student mental health and well-being. What sets this act apart is its focus on continuous improvement, long-term growth, and shared accountability paired with proactive state support. So ultimately, that accountability, that statewide accountability, is measured by a clear set of evidence-based metrics, and those are referred to or known as performance growth targets, or as we do in education acronyms, PGTs. And those are to track student outcomes. So all districts across Oregon are required to set specific goals for each metric. Next slide. So 7 of the metrics we must establish are called common state metrics, and these are required for all districts. And you can see here in this visual that several of them are metrics that we have been using and setting goals around with the integrated grants process, but we have 2 new metrics. So a new metric is a K2 regular attendance, and then the 8th grade math proficiency. An 8th grade math proficiency will be measured by the statewide math assessment in 8th grade. The other metrics that have been common, and we've been using these for several years, is regular attenders in K through 12, 3rd grade English language arts proficiency measured by our statewide OSAS assessment, 9th grade on track to graduate, 4-year graduation rate, and the 5-year completion rate. Next slide. So we do have, in addition to those 7 common metrics, we have to choose 1 local metric, and that will then give us a total of 8 metrics for the performance growth targets. For David Douglas, we're honing in on career and workforce readiness. It's there in orange right in the middle, number 3. And it's based on CTE participants and concentrators. And we're looking at that as our local metric to ensure we are explicitly measuring how prepared our graduates are for post-secondary success. Next slide.
Can I ask a question really quick?
Yeah.
Going back to just so I'm clear, one slide back. Okay, so you said we need to focus on 1 local metric.
Yes.
And the other 4 on this slide, are they connected to the?
No. So there's 7. Those 7 metrics that we're here on for our common metrics are everyone across the district.
Right.
And then the state with the accountability bill is wanting local context, and so that's where the local metrics come into play. Of course, all of these are important, but when we think about the feedback from our families and our community around the importance of students knowing what they can do after graduation, when we think about our bond work, and CTE was the focus where we felt like that really contained everything that we've been working towards and our initiatives. And so we are focusing on that as our local metric. Of course, everything else is important, but this would be the one we would set performance growth targets for and would be part of our accountability work with the state. So the state would be monitoring these goals and working with us, and we would be reporting on those specific goals.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for pausing me in so I can answer that. Our task as a district is to set those local performance growth targets for all of those 7 common metrics and our 1 local metric, starting with this year. So we're setting a metric for this year all the way through 2029, 2030, so the 29-30 school year. For every metric, our performance growth targets must include a baseline target, and that's our all student group. So all students are in that target, and then a gap closing target, which is a combined focal group. So they've taken all the focal student groups and put them together into one data point. ODE will review and approve our performance growth targets. So we set our goals and they approve those through a collaborative process, and their goal is by September 15th of this year. So next slide. The state sets explicit criteria for how these targets are built and have set and provided us some tools for that. Under the state's guidelines, our performance growth targets must demonstrate growth for the all student group and the combined focal group in each of the 4 years, and a reduction in the gap between our all student group and the focal student group. As well as they've developed similar district targets, so they've grouped our district with other districts and developed similar district targets, and they want us to work towards a similar district target, but really taking into consideration our starting point. So ultimately, our district performance growth targets must improve in meaningful and measurable ways over time. Next slide. So to ensure our targets are grounded in data and strategy, a district leadership team that is made up of the leaders who work with these initiatives and that are measured by each of these metrics are working together to actively collaborate in our decision making. So we are examining our 4-year trends. We're looking at our focal group outcomes and the opportunity gaps and strengths to identify our growth potential. We're learning and leveraging the ODE guidance and tools and the MESD resources that have been provided to us to align our target setting with our district initiatives already underway and new investments. And we're asking critical questions about expected outcomes and timelines for improvement. Ultimately, we are establishing a clear methodology for our goal setting that we can communicate with our community and with our leaders and with ODE as we submit our growth goals. Next slide, please. So looking at next steps, we are reviewing our draft performance growth targets and getting input with our administrators during our August administrator meeting. We plan to hold a work session directly with ODE to preview our draft PGTs and methodology, so we make sure that we're on the right track. And then we will submit our targets to ODE by August 31st. ODE's goal is to review and approve all district targets by September 15th, and then finally we'll return to the school board to present our approved growth targets. Next, thank you. So thank you for your time this evening, and if you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you for presenting. Questions? Oh, I'm surprised Heather doesn't have a question.
The local metric performance targets, are they equally weighted with the other 7 in terms of how we're, following them and the expectation? Is there any differences in the way we're expected to report on them, or is it just like a pick a 7th?
Basically it's pick one that it matches your initiatives and your local context and your goals. And then they have different ways of measuring. So you can see on that visual with the local options that they have set different ways of measuring how you would meet that target, and they have provided us some longitudinal data for us to review, so we can see like how we've done along the way, and then determine what our local metric is.
Can you speak a little bit more about why we came to the choice on the local metric?
On the local metric, yes. So with our integrated grants work, we've done a lot as a group and a team. We've done a lot of the community outreach and looking at the data from across the district, looking at input from our community and our students, and looking at our feedback from our staff. And the CTE seemed to be the best, strongest measure of showing improvement and growth and support to meet those goals that we have as a district and an initiative. The range of metrics, fifth grade science, statewide science assessment is such a broad measure because it is assessing third, fourth, and fifth grade standards. And so that didn't feel as strong of a measure of really knowing like how we're doing as a district and improving. And then like the academic growth was going to be measured K through 8 for reading and math based on the interim assessments, so like our iReady assessment data. And then some of the other ones looked at just some different variables that didn't really seem to encompass what our initiatives and focus was as a district. So we really honed in on CTE as being the one that encapsulated what our initiatives and what our feedback is of how to strengthen our programs here in the district.
So in terms of that metric itself, it reads to me as if it's just like the number of participants in the program and not like a measure of, I'm not sure, like what they've learned from the programs or what they're taking from the programs. And I'm also curious kind of just in terms of capacity, like we only have so many, they're elective classes, all of these, well, the majority of them anyway. So I guess I'm kind of curious, like, as compared to something like academic growth, where we're looking a lot at those accelerated targets and those pathways of progress. Mm-hmm. Switching around, I'm thinking about those in comparison to this. Just feels kind of like a quantity, and I'm wondering if I'm missing something about that, or if there's some like continuity to curriculum in middle school, or.
So you're asking. Between the career and workforce readiness target, local metric, versus like sorry, I have it here, the assessment, the academic growth target. Mm-hmm. So with the career and workforce readiness, it is a index. It's a weighted composite total, and we are we are below this similar district target, and with our new CTE building, a focus on our multilingual students getting access to CTE classes, it felt like that was a clear goal for us. The interim, using the interim assessments as a local metric to show growth is a K through 8 for ELA and math, one goal. And that felt really broad and something that setting a goal for now, we would, there's a different timeline for setting the goal. You'd have a year break, and then we'd have to set it next year, but we couldn't change our mind. It just felt like we've never done this, and the state hasn't done it, and it's all really new. So setting that as our goal and locking ourselves into that before we really knew much about it felt like, well, of course that is a focus, and of course we're working on that, but setting that as our goal and not being able to start thinking about like how are we going to meet that felt too big and too broad.
So is the composite, like I think I just heard you say that to focus on multilingual learners, is that part of the composite, the weighted composite score? It's not just simply a number of students who have taken it, but it's the index is taking into, so what other things is it taking into? Do you know? in that?
Yeah, so I can definitely send you the technical manual that says what it is. I do have in front of me like what the state has provided us as our indexed measure over time. And the definition is it's a weighted composite total of CTE participants and CTE concentrators, and then it's an index that can range from 0 to 400. So it's a little bit new way to measure versus what we have indicated in our grant work that we've done. And I can definitely share with you all the technical manual on how that is, because that is a new way. But we could see from the data that this worked with and met what we had as a focus for the district work that we've been doing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and right off that, how often can we, I'm not saying we're going to, but can we change the local metric? Or do you set it once and it's there?
Once it's set, that is our local metric for the next 4 years.
4 years. Okay, because I ask, and that might not happen now, but let's say we get really good at enrolling CTs, there's a limit, right? With growth, you can keep growing a little bit, but with number of kids in the program, there's definitely a ceiling where we run out of space.
Kind of, yes, and again, not to argue anything, but there are opportunities to add more programs, more CTE programs. Again, out of our 11, we could add more programs. You could add more courses within the program. So in one hand, yes, the CTE center might be maxed out, but we could have a wing with more classes, more electives. So again, you're assuming growth, you're assuming more opportunities, forecastings. Will that happen? Could it happen? I don't know.
And that's exactly what I wanted to hear, because I think growing the CTE program is a way to get our kids to graduate, to do better after they graduate. There's a million reasons why you would want to do that. So I appreciate that. So just hearing that that's already something we're thinking about makes me glad to pick this because it also leads to other good things other than just the other ones are great goals. We're gonna work with those kids to get those goals anyway. This goal makes us work on our CTE program even more, right? I like it.
Yeah, I was going to say, even though we're looking at students in the program and increasing access for our multilingual learners, we know that students that are in CTE programs graduate at a higher rate. So we should be hopefully seeing growth in our graduation rate as part of that metric. Yeah. And like you said, we still measure all the other things as well. It's just, for this program.
And I love the multilingual learners getting access. I mean, there's CTE programs for specifically for translation, like things that could be specific to them. So, yeah, that's great. Any other questions?
I have to make a comment. I really, really appreciate you doing this. I mean, I guess I just have a little bit of frustration with the Accountability Act in general, in that there's this sort of sense from the legislature and the governor that we gave you this money, Student Success Act and other funds, and what are you doing with it? Our kids are not succeeding. My frustration with this is we are in a deficit, a budget deficit, and kids do not grow if they're not taught. It's not like you can just plug into the matrix and have third grade reading happen. And so what's frustrating to me is this accountability without any funding. And so I really hope that we'll remember and go back and pound the table at this long session, because this feels incredibly unfair. These are numbers we already track. We already do this. We talk about them all the time. In fact, we talk about disparities within these numbers. We've all had these conversations, but reflecting back on what we heard from DDEA, I'm feeling that a lot. And so I appreciate the work. I think it's fine to pick a low-hanging fruit because this extra accountability stuff feels very hollow to me.
Thank you. I feel that a lot. Yes, I feel that because bigger class sizes doesn't help you have better outcomes, like we talked about earlier. I will say, I met with Representative Hudson earlier this week, and they're starting to try to look at some of those things, like this is a little off, but the distribution formula where our district has a lot more kids that are in poverty that need special education, we get the same amount as a district that has none of those kids, right? Not that any has none, but so they're trying to look at ways to make it more equitable. So there's hopefully, and I talked about things like all of a sudden we have a lot more leave, and teachers should be able to take their leave. The problem is that how it's changed has changed drastically over a short period of time, and funding hasn't kept up with that. So don't blame the teachers, blame the funding that has never kept up with that. So we are trying to express these things, and if anyone wants to talk to me about how to express these things, I do it like all the time. So I will happily sit with you and be like, here's a list of things to talk about. Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay. Great. And now for the bond update. Take it away, Pat.
So most items from summer of 2025 are finishing up their commissioning. For this summer, Mill Park and Lincoln Park, we talked before about some of the equipment running late. So we've got temporary power and heating coming in. Most of the items that are at those schools that are left to do are going to be things that won't impact school start. Brick ceiling, trash enclosures, some gates. Let's see here, street trees. So we'll plant those a little later. Hopefully we'll have rain to help us keep those going. South Powellhurst freezer, we put that off. We're going through the land use process with that. Ron Russell, project's on time so far. There'll be a few items that'll run into the start of school. Our biggest issue is Gilbert Park. So we're expecting or anticipating at least a week late at that school. City will not approve the occupancy of the building till the airflow is achieved. We anticipate that for September 4th. So they won't give us that occupancy allowance. So we're waiting on that. The gym is also another issue. There's some big equipment going in there, and that won't happen until late October. So depending on timing and what the city will approve, that could be off at least a month or more. So more to come on that. Earl Boyles running on time. We like to hear that. Ventura Park, Menlo Park running on time. Wood truss assessments. The architects are getting started on that. Just a reminder, we got a grant for that. It's just over a little over 25,000. Cost of the assessment about 138,000. So we'll be picking that up in the maintenance budget, and that is what I expected. The state doesn't provide a lot of money, but and a few months ago, I think Eugene said it was over 200,000 for their building. So we did anticipate that we would have to pick up a part of that cost. Bond Oversight Committee, we are taking them on a tour of the projects on the 26th. The next meeting will be in October, and they'll be here again in November. Any questions?
I'm not sure if I want to hold this until the liaison portion. As far as Gilbert Park, how can we support them not being able to have the gym for the month? I know that, the reality is the reality, but do we have any options for helping them?
So I'll jump in. It's going to be part of my superintendent's report, but I think I'll just do this piece right now. First and foremost, I want to pause and thank our board and our community. I don't want to lose track of the bond is an amazing thing, an amazing gift to our community because of our community. And although this is a very difficult situation that we need to navigate and have real conversations about, I do want to thank our entire community for the support, for what we're doing, and remind them as we come back, not only at Gilbert Park, but all those schools listed, although it's a great opportunity, that safety is real, that many of these places are still construction zones to a certain extent. So signage, fencing is all there for a reason. It is safe. When we're clear to be in a building, we're clear, but there's still some construction going on. So I'm just want to remind our community of that as we go through. Then backing up, the unfortunate news, and I know I updated the board through the email, that we will not be, and I'll just say it now for our community as well, we will not be in Gilbert Park on time. You just heard Pat say that. We have communicated that with the staff of Gilbert Park, although we have not communicated the final plan. When will we be in or how? We're kind of waiting to the end of this week. We're going to get an update again tomorrow, kind of see where we're at. Did anything shift or change? And I want to say here now, unfortunately, it could get worse. I mean, to be honest, right now, I mean, until the 4th is supposed to be where they come do final inspections. And that final inspection, they might see something they don't like and push it back a little, even farther. So the reality is we're playing a little bit best case right now. I am optimistic, hopeful that will be the case, but I also have to be real that it could be worse with all of that said. What we can do, I don't know, other than first and foremost, listen, communicate with our teachers, communicate with the PE teacher. You know, what can we do? Could we use space? We have not accessed this, but like we've used space for parking across the street in the gym. Or not the gym, in the church. Does the church have like a space it could offer that we could work out? Could we bus students places? We do have a covered play area there. I'm not saying it's that easy and just go outside. We could have cold days, smoky days, hot days, but there is some days that we could be outside for PE. We have a cafetorium there. So there's a lot of planning and organizing that still needs to take place as we're lifting and doing everything else. But I think part of it is once we get going is listening to the administration at Gilbert Park, and they're listening to their staff as we are as well to try to develop a plan around that. Again, what we heard is best case scenario for the gym is probably the end of September. Worst case is like the end of October. So we'll have to navigate that one way or the other. We're hopeful that by I don't know where we'll be exactly, but we're looking at, 9th is the first day for all students. When I say all, it's most, but 9th, September 9th. It won't be the 9th at Gilbert Park. Will it be the 11th? Will it be Monday the 14th? Is kind of what we're looking at. And all of this, I'm sharing this, but this is alternative. When we have it firm and finalized, we'll send it out to our community, which we're planning to do early next week. We want to have it out early next week. We started drafting a communication, but getting those dates in place around the plan, and we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves and make estimations that we're wrong on. So again, we wanted to get through tomorrow and go from there. I know DDA was notified, but we need to sit down with them really and go through the plan as well. So that's a lot of rambling. I don't know if I answered your question, but I don't know what we don't know. But I do know that we're going to explore all options to see if there's any kind of help and support we can give. Yeah.
In terms of school days, is there a makeup plan for the lost instructional hours, both for the teachers' contracts, but also for the kids?
Right. Not yet. And that's the messy part, because the messy part, we're getting into contractual, but our contract, teacher contract, if we close because of inclement weather, we close, and the agreement we have is we continue paying our teachers based on the contract. The idea, though, is you didn't work that day, you're paid that day, we could make up at the end of the year, right? I mean, that's literally a contract. This is an inclement weather. So this is a conversation, and we're planning to still have teachers work. So August 31st, let's say, and again, this is tentative, anyone watching, whatever, we need to get out, but I'm just starting to share right now. August 31st is the first day with teachers. Our plan is to have August 31st, Gilbert Park teachers go to North Powhurst. They have a cafetorium. The principal, assistant principal can still run the welcome back, all of those type of things. So they're still working and preparing for the first day. They're just not in the school in their classroom, if that makes sense. So then the 8th, 9th, and 10th, let's say, those days where kids are in school 9th and 10th, that's when hopefully teachers from Gilbert Park will be in the school working on their classroom. So they're still working. So now it's like, okay, well, how do we add back that time? And those are conversations that are going to be probably ongoing after even we get up and running, to be quite honest, because we're going to have to navigate that with ultimately with our labor leaders and kind of have conversations. What's the right thing to do? In the past, the end of the year, we've talked about, okay, rather than coming back the end, there are some days throughout the year. What if we turn those into instructional days? There's conversations there, but it's a lot more difficult because they aren't just days we miss that we're adding back. the teachers are still working, our students just aren't attending yet. So I honestly don't have a solution for that yet, Heather, but it is something on our mind. We talked about in cabinet today. Okay, well, we're talking about missed instruction. And I don't even know, to be quite honest, you know, in the past, certain inclement weather days, we can kind of say, okay, we missed a day or two. Do we really want to come back? Well, you know, versus we missed 7 days, we're going to figure it out, right? Those are kind of, now, I don't know with the state and the new instructional time and the executive order that it's, no, you have to make it up, period. And then, okay, well, then we have to come to the table and figure out how to work it out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I am wondering, I don't know if it's like a hard, this is a no because it's too complicated, busing and so forth, but like, could theoretically one school not have late start? Like, could Gilbert Park do away with Wednesday late start in order to make up that week? Or is that like a too far out there of an idea for one school?
It's not too, I don't think there is too far out there. There are complications with that that I don't know I want to get into here and now, but there are definitely some complications with that we'd have to navigate. But I don't think there's anything off the table. We talked about today, could we start again, it's hard because we need to contractually, and the right thing is make sure teachers have time in their classrooms to get ready, but could we do, you know, some sort of virtual type a couple
Right,
days?
I was
and
gonna ask that
just
too.
to kick off, so we've talked about that. We talked about, I mean, we were talking about all those things. Some of them, can we truly stand it up for the 2 or 3 days versus we
Distribution
get
of
it going?
Chromebooks.
Right, exactly. That's it. So is it we have the 8th, 9th, and 10th as work days, and then the Friday is you know, the first day for kids. So then really they've lost 2 days of instruction. We're behind 2 days. And then how do we make those up? And that's, again, it's not that the teachers weren't working, they are working. That's the rub here. Yeah, does that make sense? Yeah. So basically I have less answers than, we don't have the answers yet.
Yeah, I'm wondering about that PE section too. So you have to figure out, like, if the PE teacher doesn't have a space for 2 months, worst case, or hopefully worst case, that seems complicated.
It is.
Although it's not like it's not December, January, but still it's. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it is very complicated. Yeah.
Ending on a positive note, Cherry Park closeout. Yay!
Yeah, thank you so much. I know it's not easy. Yesterday I heard about a school in Southern Oregon that's putting up a tent for their high school to have luncheon for the next foreseeable future as they navigate issues with their bond.
Yeah.
So these kinds of issues are common throughout our state. So thank you for all the work you all are doing behind the scenes to get that taken care of. Appreciate it. Okay, strategic plan update. Aide?
Oh, never mind. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. I think this one might be better. Okay. Thank you for allowing us some time to give you another update on the strategic plan. So just a reminder that we are not starting a new strategic plan. We are consolidating the 3 existing plans into one, in addition to the community feedback we gather throughout this spring. So can we go to the next slide, Sandy? Thank you. Oh, the next one. Yeah, we can go to the next one. So the next slide, you'll see it's an overview. Oh, can we go to the next one? Thank you, Sandy. No, to the next one. So the next slide, you'll see just an overview of the different groups and the groups that we were in and the different spaces. Over the spring, we had an opportunity to connect with a lot of our students. A big focus was our students across the schools, elementary, middle school, and high school. We also, this spring, we were tabling at the school events because, as we know, a lot of our families, they attend the fun school events. So Cassie, some of our family ambassadors, Abby and TD, our family engagement specialists, they worked heavily in connecting with families and gathering input. Two of our family ambassadors mentioned they also helped us facilitate some of the focus groups. So if we go to the next slide, the next one. So tonight you will see a very brief preview of what of the updated plan. So can we go to the next slide? So what you're seeing is the new cover page of the strategic plan 2030, and this is the table of contents. It shows you the main components of the updated strategic plan. We go to the next slide. You are familiar with our 5 pillars. If we go to the next slide, you are familiar with the corresponding goal, but what you're seeing now is a glimpse of some of the objectives. The objectives are not what you're seeing tonight. Those are not all of the objectives. We are finalizing the objectives. We did gather a lot of input from our community. So it's been an extensive process. We've been having conversations in cabinet just to try to make the plan more accessible, in the sense of how do we make it accessible not just for our administrators, for our supervisors, our managers, but our teachers and classified staff, and for our families as well. So can we go to the next slide? So this is pillar number 2. We included one objective. If we go to the next one, Sandy. This is number 3, pillar number 3, family and community engagement. Let's go to the next one. We have healthy and safe environment, the 4th pillar. Go to the next one. And last one. So what's next? So next week, we plan to share the plan with our administrators, our supervisors, and our managers during the Admin Academy. And during that time, we are going to review and just walk through the plan and have a conversation. So it is, we can make it applicable to all the different departments. Now, at the end of August, we plan to share with staff and departments, so supervisors with their teams, managers, and school principals when staff are coming back. And then during the month of September, we plan to share the plan with the community. During the fall, we actually are planning to continue connecting with the community, because part of the integrated plan, the cycle, it's every 4 years, but then every 2 years, we have to collect, we have to meet with the community to gather input. And then with that input, we have to update our integrated plan, what we plan to do based on the feedback. So this fall, it's actually a new 2-year cycle. So what we plan to do during the fall is look at all the groups that we connected with. And what we want to do is connect with the groups that we didn't have an opportunity to connect. So when we come to them, we will share with them the full plan. And we're going to ask questions more around what is missing. Do you see any gaps? Do we need to be more clear on something? Do we need to correct certain things on the strategic plan? So again, the idea is for the plan to live, and I don't know if it was Ken or Ms. Tay Spears, they used to say the plan should live or should walk our hallways. Is that? Yep. So that's the idea, to make the plan be alive. Can we go to the next? Okay, so that's all I have for you today. do you have any questions for me, or Ken, if you want to add anything?
Great. Love the objectives. It all looks aligned with what we know and hear and have talked about for a long time. Wondering about the level of granularity. Is this sort of the level it's going to be at, or are we going down into strategies and actions and timelines and things like that?
Yeah. So the idea, so we have the pillars, we have the goal, the corresponding goal with objectives, strategies, and performance indicators. And that's what we will be presenting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be more comprehensive. If we go back to, I believe it's page number 4, Sandy, or 3, maybe it's 3. No, it's maybe 5. Sorry, Sandy. It's 6. Okay. 6. Mm-hmm. Yes. So those are the major components, but under each pillar, you will have the goal, objectives, strategies, and performance indicators, or the measurement. The Portrait of a Grad is a new thing. We are incorporating the equity, a lot of the parts of the equity plan into this. So we are moving things around. We will keep the equity lens, and we are going to update the core values based on the conversation we had with the board earlier this school year, or last school year.
So there's still, please, more questions. I just want to jump here. I don't get to say it enough, but the bottom line is, if you don't know this cabinet team, all of them are well respected in the state, do amazing work, and when it comes to this, everyone's leaned in. But with that being said, Ida deserves a hip hip hooray, because she truly has taken this on and been a champion of it. Yeah, absolutely. And at the same time, I'm thanking her and the team, just our entire community, for the feedback, to say thank you to them, help guiding this work. And ultimately, the bottom line, we're very proud and excited about it. And on one hand, we're just very proud and excited about it. There is a side, I think we all wish that we would be coming to you with a completely finalized, baked, and there's just a lot going on. We're not quite there yet, but we will get there. It's the organization, the time's going to work out, and we're real excited to roll this out in the fall, ultimately. So thank you for your patience and all your feedback along the way. And the idea isn't stamp done with the integrated plan. As Ida said, we can make changes, right? I mean, day 3, but the whole idea of aligning with the integrated plan, so it's a 4-year strategic plan, but it's really a 2-4, right? Because the integrated plan every 2 years and every 4 years, so that's kind of, it'll be updated and more actionable is our hope as we do it. So
thank you so much, Ida. Anyone else? I'm looking forward to just having one strategic plan instead of different ones. Yeah, appreciate that. Next one, approval of the superintendent evaluation tool. I think that's Director Jordan, Director Epstein, and Director Ender, who is probably not present.
I would like to move approval of the evaluation tool.
I second.
Okay. Any discussion? Can you explain the evaluation tool really quick?
Well, I think we went through it during our last session meeting together, but I would kind of bring it back. Did anybody have any questions or concerns about it, or I think it mirrors kind of what IDA is doing, trying to integrate the strategic plan and equity plan, and making sure that we are, aligning everything. I don't want to belabor it, but I think we went over it. Yeah. Thank you for your approval. Yeah.
Okay. No questions? Great. Yeah. Director Stevenson?
Stevenson, aye.
Can I approve my own plan? Epstein, aye. Okay.
Jordan, aye.
Stevens, aye.
Franklin, aye.
Does Director
Althea, do you want to say anything?
Thank you. Commissioner Georgeson, aye. Okay. Superintendent evaluation tool approved.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. Thanks for all the work you all did. Much appreciated. And now to the next one, the superintendent job description.
It does say first read, but we learned some new information this past week that Darcy in the HR department can help write the job description. And so we sent the examples we've come across within our community as well as in the U.S. So she's looking at those, and then she's going to get us a draft to the board. So there's nothing to read yet. Yeah.
Look forward to seeing that at a future meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, that was fast. The next one, OSBA elections. Nominations are open. So just as a FYI, I currently serve in position 19 in the Noel County, and I'm up for re-election as well.
Okay, so I move that the David Douglas School Board nominate Jose Georgeson for the OSBA Board of Director position 19. And I hope that you will be elected into higher positions as you are currently, once there.
I second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
I do have a question. Are we is there something for 17?
17 is Katrina Dowdy. So after this, I was going to nominate her again.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Okay. So now we're just going to vote. I mean,
yeah.
Any discussion?
Any discussion? I don't have discussion.
No.
Franklin, aye.
Stevens, aye.
Jordan, aye.
Epstein, aye.
Stevens and I.
Thea. Director Ender.
Director Ender, would you like to support? Ender, aye.
Commissioner Georgeson, aye. Thank you. And if I do get elected, I believe in September, well, this will happen before I know if I'm elected or not, but the election for president is in September. And since I'm president-elect, there's no one else running for it. So, okay. I also move that the David Douglas School Board nominate Katrina Dowdy from MESD, the Multnomah Education Service District, for the OSBA Board of Directors position 17, which she currently holds.
I second the motion.
Any discussion? Okay.
I had a question.
Sure.
Do you know how long have you been on this board, that board of directors, and how long has she been on the board of directors?
I've been on the board for almost 2 years because you get reelected every 2 years. She has been on it for longer than that, at least 4 or 6, but I don't know exactly when she started. She's done a lot of work with trying to establish the Pride Advisory Committee right now, working with that and helping with groups. She was the only LGBTQIA person on the board forever, and now there's 2 of us. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Stevens and I.
Epstein, aye.
Jordan, aye.
Stevens, aye.
Franklin, aye.
Ender, Director Ender.
Ender, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Georgeson, aye. Thank you, everyone. I believe that's everything, unless anyone else has any other nominations. No. Okay, great. So let's move on to the next one. Pension obligation bond analysis and discussion. Riveting.
Not my favorite topic. Oh, goodness. So just a reminder, a number of months ago, we brought forward a proposal to join with other districts to have a risk return analysis done on selling new pension obligation bonds. And so we got that information back. That was shared with you in this packet. There was quite a lot. what it does is it looks at whether or not you will be successful in breaking even or doing better. So reminder that a lot of people don't quite realize this is a bet. This is hedging the market. You're working on arbitrage. You want to be able to sell the bonds at a rate that is lower than what you're going to take that money and invest it and get higher investment earnings. So many districts did very, very well. So it's not anything that you can just dismiss. Unfortunately, our district went to the market and we just hit the wrong timing. What they are planning is they are planning to go out in about February. They have a number of school districts and other cities, counties, etc. So they're kind of have a couple different groups that will be going out for bonds. Folks need to go through quite a long process. It does take 7 or 9 months to get through everything because we need to have a resolution drafted. We need to decide on a interest rate. If we go through and we decide that we're going to go and we get to the bond sale day and they come in and the rate's higher than what we want, they will stop. So they are looking at pooling school districts because the pool, the bigger it is, the better the sale. But right now what they're trying to gauge is how many people are really interested. We would need to have a decision no later than the September board meeting. They really want us to be able to ask the bond council to have the resolution and get them information on whether we want a resolution or not by about September 13th. They would have preferred that we give them kind of a yay or nay around now. And so we're just trying to gauge your interest in pursuing this. We've had a few unstable days with markets and national and international events. And so those things can wreak havoc with bond sales. So we're thinking about what's going on today. It might stabilize by February. It may not. It may get worse. So, and really, you're looking at those first couple years after the sale, because if you lose that principal early, you don't make it up. And that's one of the things that really worked for other districts, is districts that sold in 2001 to 3 really were able to hit the ground running, hit some good market returns. And when they hit that downturn in the market, they were able, really, they're losing some of their interest. They're not losing that principal part. So we're just trying to get some sense of what your questions are, whether you would like Piper Sandler to come and do a presentation, but it's pretty condensed timeline. We have a couple more opportunities to do this. There's 2 more risk return analysis that they will do in 27 and 28. So are there questions in particular?
With the other districts looking at this, would it be everyone in it together, or is it just everyone analyzed it together?
So everybody's analysis was at the same time. Not everybody has to sell at the same time. Some districts are large enough that they can really do their own sale. Others, they prefer to pool, because there are some small school districts that really, to get interest in a bond sale, they would need to have them in a pooled account. So,
can we be queued for the next market crash? and then Because we're due.
We're
We're 20 years out from the one that killed the last offset bond.
yeah, I would say we're overdue. But
We're, and it was a little dicey in 2020.
it was a
and-
little dicey in 2020. They did fairly okay in the 2021 sale, I believe it was.
I feel like I just hate the bet, but if we can bet in our favor instead of being like, "Well, let's hope not," I just feel like let's hope not is a horrible place to be if we can be just queued up to go, oh, now's the time to do it.
Everybody wishes.
So
they
I'm
had
reading
that
this.
crystal
The results of the study demonstrate that there's a probability of about 75 to 87% of having a net present value from bond proceeds interest earnings result in greater than zero, or a 25% to about 13% probability of having losses, as we did in our 2007 pension obligation bonds. I would love to go back and read the analysis because I cannot believe that it would be much different then. Nobody knows what's going to happen, and yeah, no comment.
Can you remind me who's the winner in these? Like who has no risk?
So I will tell you that PPS had.
No, sorry, I don't mean that. Like
that
no,
what you
who
mean?
like in the bond pension offset bond process, someone has little to no risk. I feel like the district is taking on all the risk, and there's someone in the process. Like, is it the people selling the bond that or working the bond sale? It's the people with all the money have no risk, and they're offsetting it onto publicly funded institutions. Yeah.
It's just training.
I kind of think it's crazy this is legal, honestly.
100%, but also, what do we do? Our PERS.
I know. No, I mean, I know we all do it. I just,
What's really hard is one of the reasons I think they're setting this up is because districts' bonds from 20 years ago are falling off. And so like we discussed, this timeline for selling the bonds in February, getting the cash right before your March payroll, basically they would apply the rate credit from that starting in March. So that's where I think they're looking at that timing, because as we discussed earlier, this is about when ours fall off this year, which is about little over a year early. So that means our PERS rates will go up March, April, May, June, somewhere in there. We anticipate, we've been getting little notes. We have a meeting here later this month with PERS. And we anticipate that they will start connecting with us because they have some targets on our site account that basically flag them, because once the site account is gone, the rate goes up the very next month. So they need to really be on top of that, and they're trying to make sure that they're connecting with the districts.
So I would like to hear your thoughts and Ken's thoughts, both.
You want to say your thoughts first, Ken? You'll go after me. I don't know that this is the right time. Sugar-free. We're trying to take care of you, Jose. I would say put it off and look at the 27 risk analysis just to see. While it's very tempting to do it right now, I just feel like there's too much turmoil in, it seems like leadership likes to say things that make the markets react. And I'd hate to see us in the same situation again, because somebody decided that, they make a comment and suddenly the markets tank. So.
Yeah, I would totally agree. I'm totally shy. I can't. We are the example, right? And it's just hard to get over that as a District 1. And then two, the reality of even based on the projections and what they have, you know, how much growth really could be expected even if things go okay, right? The hard part in this, what if they go great? What are we giving up? But we, you know, what do we want to gamble? And I don't feel like the information we're getting, looking at the markets, kind of just what's going on, way above my pay grade here, people, but I just don't know that the risk is worth the gamble, is the way I would look at it. But
I will say what I'm hearing is there's about a 50-50 split between the districts that participated.
Do we know what's driving their participation? Is it desperation, or they're just?
I think there's a little desperation because it is, you know, we've had some school districts who their site account is already drained, and it was a huge hit for them. That I don't know if they just didn't anticipate it or didn't realize it, but you know, it's like, holy smokes! Now I've got to come up with how to cover that. I think what's hard is if you have turnover in your district or you don't quite understand, then, you know, things can catch you off guard that you don't quite realize. And it's like PERS, the information that you're getting is always, you know, a year, it's delayed. There's a lag. So if you're not kind of paying attention, then it's like, oh, I get my Milliman report and okay. And then you're like, oh, but wait a minute. This is how far and where am I at now and where am I going to be? So you just kind of have to watch.
Go ahead. Question, if you gamble and lose, does it still kick the can down the road? So
Whether you gamble or not, either way, this is kicking the can down the road. So that's the reality of it, is you're putting off that additional increase. You're hoping, to offset it, but 20 years from now, when those bonds are done, there's going to be probably a spike. So,
What if we don't put it off and figure out how to deal with it? What does that look like?
I feel like we do that in our budget. You know, we account for our PERS obligation, but I don't know. I mean, it's so large. It's such a huge number. Like in order to take care of it, you're cutting services, right? And staff. And I think we're just constantly balancing how to do that.
so it's just, again, it's an offset, right? If we don't have the offset, then it's just dollars right off the top.
Right.
Which is part of the argument that we're having at the legislative level, if you will. The reality is we give you this much per student. Well, you give us this much per student, but then we have to take this much off the top to pay for PERS obligations and other things I'm going to talk about a little bit later. So it's really not, we don't get that full amount because there's obligations before we ever spend it. So what it would look like, it looks like that we pay our PERS obligations as we go directly out of the money we have coming in.
right. So this year, you're going to get probably an increase in that springtime. Maybe we'll be lucky and eke out until June. I don't know. But then starting next July, you're going to have a PERS increase. You're also going to have your bond payment. So you're kind of getting a double whammy. Then the year after that, that bond payment will fall off. I think it's June of 28. So after that, you'll have a year's reprieve, and then most likely another increase because it goes every 2 years for your PERS rates.
This is very frustrating.
It is. I think
Like there's a trillionaire right now. This is so frustrating.
if we rename the district to AI School District, all our problems would be solved. So I know if we do nothing, we spend more, but I think my question was more, can we get a forecast of like what we'd be looking at doing without this crutch? And figuring out if as a district we can operate without worrying about this crutch. It'd be nice to have the crutch, but if we don't need it, then it's I don't know. I don't think it's fair to the community that pays for the district to gamble their money. And it sucks that we're in a position that it's even an option to, as Director Franklin said, it should be illegal to gamble public money. It's just weird.
Well, the state does it all the time, but like why PERS exists. But yeah, it's just a little hard for me because if you look at like the number, the percentage, like everybody's paycheck is 20, blah, 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 you know, getting close to 30%, like of every dollar is going to PERS, and that's paying for an obligation for future. And I understand that, but there's some districts that are much, much lower. And it just seems unfair to have 190, however many districts, 197 districts, all struggling with the same problem, not able to find balance with, and parity really, with salaries, because our salaries include that huge percentage and other districts don't. So it's very frustrating, and I hate gambling, so I would be a no on this anyway.
Pat, you note in here the Deerdorf being a potential side account for, I know, that's what I'm wondering, how small.
A number of years ago.
Well, just like theoretically, we sell Deerdorf and we have this side account. What would a 2 million, what would it be compared? Nothing compared to this, what this is supposed to do, right?
Yeah. So if you looked at that analysis, our unfunded actuarial liability, I think, is 160 million.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's what's hard. And because even the employer incentive fund, which is where they would match a portion of what you put in if you put in cash, you cannot use bond funds. But if you actually, which the majority of school districts didn't have cash to put in, so they couldn't take too much advantage of that. It's a really small amount that you're getting back for that. I don't know if I should say this, but in hindsight, I wasn't here, and Ken wasn't here, I don't believe, and we had a funny conversation the other day because he said, oh, that ITAX money, and I said, I was thinking about that over the weekend, and they really should have invested that because it would have been no harm, no foul, but if it had been lost, it would have been a big bummer.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you wouldn't be making bond payments. Yeah, so.
Just thinking out loud, because this pension offset bond drives me insane. Is the district allowed to have an endowment? Is that something we can do, or is that why DDEF exists?
It's why DDEF exists. It's a foundation, yeah.
But it's separate from the district, right? So the district can't have its own endowment.
I don't know if we'd have the money to set that up. You were saying if someone decided they
Sure.
want to donate.
Or figure that out where it's like figure out how to grow a pot of money. I know these are tough, but
yeah. Yeah, because I know OSBA pays a lot of its bills from their giant endowment. So, yeah, I tend to be on the side of erring on the side of not gambling, but both is gambling, right? Because like even not doing it means we're gonna have the bump up. So even if we gambled and lost, that bump up comes later. So the gamble is maybe that bump up comes when we're not facing budget cut after budget cut after budget, because these are bad years, right? So on top of that, we have not enough money coming in, and now we're gonna raise PERS. The other gamble is if we do it, even if we lost, is that bump in PERS now coming at a time where we're better off? Then it does affect us, but not as much, right? Because so there's a lot of gambling involved, and I do not like it. But there's a lot of pieces to it. I definitely think this is an ongoing conversation. I am very comfortable with let's sit the first year out and revisit this at the next one, because you said next year there's another one. So I'm very comfortable with that, but I have a hard time. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be put in a position of us having to decide whether or not we do this. That being said, we might not be able to afford to not do this, even if it's a bad gamble, even if knowing it's a gamble. Yeah, it's difficult. But yes, I would also agree with Director Stevens, where I don't think right now would be a yes on it, especially after hearing. But some of it is coming from all of us having a certain amount of level of PTSD from the last one. So that is also a thing we should think about.
Well, and I think if the board is still exploring or still open, right, I do think having an expert come like Carol Samuels from Piper just to present to us, just to make sure Pat and I, it's not our day job, right? We're trying to stay on top of it and give you as much information, not as a sales. I mean, she's very good. She would just come as information. This is what you can be thinking about. So down the road, I would think about that as a board, or we could help set that up. I think it'd be very informative as well, but that's down the road as well.
Anything else?
I always want to ask Pat again. So is the next year potentially could be less volatile? Your statement about that, you think that next year could be less volatile because of national politics being less volatile? I just have this doomy, who knows if this is not the good days, right? Like kind of.
That's true. And that's where, you're taking the gamble of what's it like today? What was it like a few weeks ago? You're making decisions on a sale that's going to occur in February, so things could go way wacky. The biggest thing for these folks is it is a lot of work for folks, and I can send around the official statement for a bond, for our last bond, so you can kind of get an idea of the amount of work and detail that goes into it, because you'll all need to read it. And really, once they do that work, they prefer we don't decide to pull out because they don't get paid unless we sell bonds.
Oh, okay.
So the only thing that we have to pay for is the bond rating. So we get to a point, they're creating an preliminary official statement. They're doing all their legal due diligence, which is quite a bit, because this does go through the Securities Exchange Commission. So this is all stuff that's very, very regulated. So, they're setting up, and usually Ken and I have to sit in, the superintendent and I have to sit in on the ratings call, and that is where they question us and all the information that we presented. What is our financial future? They're wanting to make sure that we're in a good, stable position, and that rating is what sells our bonds too. So,
and did I hear you right that there's like there's a number where if it fell below, can you say that again?
So your true interest cost, we have to designate basically where we want to be in the bond sale. And so if they go out and they start pricing, and we say 4.25%, it comes in at 4.26. We're not in the sale because our legally adopted requirements say 4.25 or lower. So this is what they're gauging. So they're taking what you approve and they're trying to match up the market to it.
Okay.
So that's where it gets a little bit messy. And there's been times too where you get to bond sale day and something happens and they're like, no, stop. We're not not today.
Who's they?
So the brokerage house.
Okay.
So they'll be like, we're the if there's like a market crash or something, they would not do it. But what happens on that day, you sell and things are great. In a week, something happens and the markets tank. There goes your principal.
And if it's not this February, that they're only February's?
I think they're aiming for February's. That seems to be their month of choice. That's kind of.
So it's this one or next one, but the one after, you probably wouldn't want to do it after a presidential election because that can do all kinds of things to markets. So just to keep that in mind, this one or next one, probably not the very next one.
Would you like Carol to come to see if I can bring her to the September meeting?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is that too late if she comes in our September meeting?
You'll need to make the decision at that meeting. So she can present information, but basically, if there's something in particular that you want, I can have her prepare in advance for you and then come and answer questions.
I think.
And just a reminder, Carol Samuels with Piper Sandler. It might be Brendan, but they're the brokers versus Hawkins Delafield is the bond counsel. So they're into the legal parts. They're more into the language, what the official statement says. The broker is what do markets tell you? Where do where is the selling point? What are things going at now? Those types of things.
Yeah, thank you. I think that'll be helpful. Thank you for your work. I think someone made a comment. And it's how does those school districts not know that things were falling off? It's not everyone has a PAT, so thank you. So for all the work you do, because we hear it all the time. Other school districts are caught unaware or they're not prepared, and that doesn't just happen here. So thank you. Superintendent's report.
All right, thank you so much. And I want to start out, I know we already talked about this a little bit, but Gilbert Park, and we talked about it, but I was kind of just rushing through it a little bit. So I want to pause here, and also, as I thanked our entire community, I do want to apologize to the entire Gilbert Park community. That this wasn't our intent. We're not happy about it. I do think it's unavoidable. I don't think it's any one thing. It's when we talk to our construction management team, there were things that were bought out from under us. There were things that happened, but overall there was a bunch of different things that played into this. But ultimately, to the board as well, I apologize. This isn't where I can tell you our facilities team, anyone involved, construction team, and I think even the contractors want to be here. They want to be done on time. But with that said, we'll keep you updated. A few of the things, just the reality is, you heard, I believe, Alice say, we're gearing up. I mean, you can kind of feel it in the air. You feel it in the buildings probably as you're walking around and seeing access and different things going on. It's real exciting. I'll give a written update that tells a lot more of just what we're gearing up. But today, I'd like to look backwards a little bit. Lisa Hall's in the audience here, and she provided a summary that I'm going to share a few pieces. If you remember, we had summer school, and a few highlights from summer school. Our elementary summer school, we had an average of 299 students. Average attendance was about 83%. If you didn't know, it was 4.5 hours a day of academic instruction and 1 hour of enrichment. Overall, our student demonstrating growth was about 67% when we're looking at literacy measures. So again, excited we had the opportunity to provide that. There was also enrichment, Sun-led different activities, including art, Lego, STEAM. We had Elevate Youth now in our classrooms providing support. We had Oregon Ballet Theater enrichment, and West Powhurst students did a showcase the last week. And then Alpha Best, there was 2 assemblies. So just a snapshot is all I'm doing today, but really excited again that we had the opportunity for that. Middle school also had summer school. We had 66 average students enrolled. Their average daily attendance was about 63%. Again, also 4.5 hour day of academic and 1 hour enrichment. Through those students, they demonstrated about 82, or actually around up to 83% growth, which is, again, looking at different measures. I can share with those later. We also had enrichments from Portland Parks, Rec, and Elevate. And then two other things wanted to show. One was just the surveys. We talked to families and staff. I'll just share the families' goals. Were the goals met for students? 82% of our families agreed. And then if we offered summer school again in the future, would you want your students to attend? 90% agreed to that. Two other things. One, I wanted to pause a little bit. We had summer school at the high school, and during that same time, we had ODE site visit, and ODE basically, quote unquote, said the following: "We're thoroughly impressed by the dedication of your staff and the high-quality student-centered environment evident throughout the program. David Douglas's summer school learning program demonstrates a deep commitment to inclusion. Program designs was such that students experiencing disabilities and disabled students belong. We also know that specific focus on universal, emerging, multilingual instructional strategies aiming to help students maintain their cultural voice and identity while integrated in the school system. The program facilitates language acquisition, classes for emerging multilingual students, often involving group work, language, and it goes on, et cetera, et cetera. We left the visit feeling inspired by the dynamic teaching and high expectations set for your students. Thank you for operating the program to make a profound difference for our students." So that was directly from ODE. Yeah, definitely. And then ninth grade counts. We had 143 incoming freshmen, 20 program days, number of different credits that were offered, and also ODE said, "Your ninth grade success model, particularly effective as it allows teachers to build essential rapport with students before the academic year begins. Rising ninth graders consistently reported to us that they felt more prepared for the school year because they had the opportunity to participate in your program. Students who participate can also start ninth grade ahead of time." And then the last thing is that we offered a CTE camp this summer for 7th graders. 72 students registered, which was an increase from the previous year. Daily attendance was about 60 to 65 students a day. Students intermingling, groups intermingling students from each of the middle schools, and each day experienced 2 hands-on CTE sessions throughout the week. With that said, the student feedback, just real quick, students' participation, 24 students completed the survey. Before this camp, did you know what CTE or hands-on career classes were? There was 42% that had no idea, 37 that heard of it, and 20 that already knew what it was. And the next question: how much did this camp help you explore classes that can prepare you for real world jobs? A little bit, but still have some questions, 16%, and then 84% was a lot. I see how these classes connect to the future career pathways. So just a quick snapshot there, and a shout out to all of our staff, teachers, leadership. Elise is still in the audience. Thank you for your leadership. Other administrators that are involved that put this on and basically showed up for students. We appreciate it. So great opportunity, and we'll see how it basically rolls out. I mean, our governor's already said summer school, but as you know, there was drama last year with winners and losers and who gets to put on summer school. So I think it's still a moving target. With that said, also want to share with you that you all received an email, so I know you're flagging it. I know you're aware that House Bill 4079, Senate Bill 1538, and Senate Bill 1594, all around immigration, all around responsibilities we have, and a new policy that this board has to adopt by the end of September. We have that queued up. We will be bringing it. The only thing is that policy, normally we have a first read and second read. Because it's due by the end of September, and because we only got it this week, we'll be asking the board to consider the first and second read the same month. So we'll get that to the policy committee as soon as possible. We'll share it out so the board has it. But at that board meeting, we're going to ask if you'll consider that as the final reading, not a first reading, just because of the due date around it. So again, I know you've received emails around it. I just wanted to make sure that you're aware that we are on it, and we will be bringing it and sharing information about what it means. So policy update. And then the last thing, wanted to share with the board proclamations. If you remember a few years back, we started doing the proclamations, inviting schools, and in conversations with board leadership and also in conversations with our equity leadership team and equity team, they want to look at a change to that model. They want to look at, it's kind of signing up and who actually shows up. But anyway, the bottom line is looking at change. One of the things we're looking at is, one, how do we get different groups into the boardroom, specifically student groups, celebrations. We haven't quite landed that, but I can tell you in the proclamations, I think what we're looking at is we still want to honor and celebrate the proclamations, but we'll probably do more of a video base rather than students coming or not coming, and have more of a video demonstrating students and interviewing them in conversations that we'll be able to review 2 minutes or less, 3 minutes or less, real quick, real tight. But that's our vision right now based on the conversations that Althea and Jose brought to us around changing that model. So wanted to update you there. Also wanted to share that I am serving on the COSA funding work group, which back to Stephanie's comments a little bit earlier about what's going on. And one thing I hinted at a little bit is we all talk about PERS as we should. It's a huge monster. Another monster that's going to be raising its head and you're going to be seeing a lot more about is OEBB. The reality of OEBB and the cost of OEBB, and it's capped at 3.4%. Well, that's not realistic, and I can tell you without being over dramatic, the model's kind of broken because that cap is just not realistic. So there will be increases, right? And when those increases come, how do we absorb those? What does that look like? So just flagging it. I don't have the answer for you, but I can tell you. Oh, okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Oregon Education Benefit Boards.
Health benefits.
Yep. No, my fault. I shouldn't have used the acronym. Yep, absolutely. Years ago, it was, we probably will be doing a presentation about it. We can give a little more history, but it's what we have to use for our benefit selections. I mean, it's required by law, and it's the cost increases in all of healthcare, and I know there's experts at this table could speak to it better than I can. The cost versus the resources have not caught up, and it's a cliff waiting to happen as well. So, with that said, I think that's my superintendent's report tonight. Again, I will be updating you as we go. Next week we have Admin Academy, where we really no turning back. So here we go. Really excited for the upcoming school year. So thank you for your time.
Ken, I don't know if the ODE shout out on the high school and captured the Fur Ridges campus, but also excellent summer programming.
There is, and there's a lot more.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. There's a lot more that I didn't. I kind of briefly,
no, it's okay.
But yeah, there was summer school activity.
Yeah, they had. I think it was quite successful there too. So
it is really cool.
Thanks, Ken. And now back to Pat for the financial report.
So statewide, the next state economic forecast later this month. For our general fund, right now our ending fund balance projection for 25-26 is at about 17.7 million. Up a bit from the 17 in June, up definitely from our adopted budget, which was 16.4. So I do want to remind you, just to give you the picture, for 25-26, we projected a beginning fund balance of 22.5. It came in at about 21.5. So remember, it's a little lower. So we're going from 21.5 to 17.7. So continuing that decline, spending it down. So I just don't want anybody to go, where to go? So we did have a bit in revenues, a small increase from the projection. And our last unemployment claims, so if you remember, we talked about them. They were around 40,000, and we had a huge bump that was over 400,000 for that last summer. So we do anticipate that our first quarter or third quarter, depending on whose calendar you're going by, which will encompass this summer's claims, we anticipate that would probably be pretty significant again. So we're waiting to see that. But overall, they weren't as high as we anticipated. And also additional earnings and some associated payroll costs were down. Nutrition services, pretty close. We had projected 1.4, and we are at about 1.3. Grant funds is a bit lower. Some of that is related to our construction claiming. Construction excise tax, that one's less or increased, fewer expenses last year, being that we had to do some stop work on that freezer. Capital projects fund is a little higher, so just anticipating when that timing of the construction work. The PSEF projects, we didn't spend as much as anticipated. Work is going on. For the investment report, really, I just want to bring your attention to the interest rate comparison. So back in June of 2025, we were making 4.6% on anything we had in the local government interest investment pool, and we are down to 4%. So it'll continue probably to trickle downward, but just wanted to let you know. Any questions?
No questions? Okay, reflections of public comment.
I'm glad to have the high school start time come back into conversation. I actually was kind of just thinking about the difference between the start time at Fur Ridge versus the main high school campus, and just as a parent who's had kids at both, how much easier it is to get them to actually go to school when start time is 8:30. And I'm really glad to see it come from the students this time, to have the conversation really come from like direct impact, because I think for me up until today, the conversation's always been very, rooted in the research for me. Like I've read, I've been deep in it a few times, but I've never heard the kind of that lived experience and the impact on academic outcomes for kids who are really clearly driven towards being successful. And for me, that really was pretty impactful to hear the students. And I understand there's a million complications, but I was also happy to hear kind of that redirect that's like, but the main goal here is to educate the kids. So it's, yes, jobs, yes, sports, yes, this and that. But I wish our state took more kind of top level direction, like we're talking about with PERS and everything else, like in the way that California said you can't have school start earlier than 8:30 for high schoolers because the public health impacts. I'm not sure what would happen if a school district had a start time of 5 a.m. But clearly we have events here, we have practices here at this campus that do start 5 a.m., 5:15, and it's brutal. Even just to wake up to take a kid to a 5 a.m. event is pretty rough, but, remembering being a teenager and sleep deprived is, yeah. So, I mean, I think that I don't know, but I imagine that the time it takes to switch a model, like a high school start time, is probably at least a year or 2 years, but I would like to, be more serious about considering it again.
What I'm hearing, or I believe I hear, and based on some of the conversations had a little bit, because I was at the meeting when the equity team had the opportunity to talk to a couple of board leaderships about. What I'm thinking is this year's a study to go through to get input, because there are a lot of moving parts. So for us to study that as a board and really come to a decision, and if we're considering that or not considering that, kind of those questions along the way. The outcome, I think, would be by the end of the year making a decision for the following year. So really this year is for opportunity for us to explore, listen to our community, and kind of make sure we understand the unintended consequences, the reasons why, and land on a hopefully a win-win. The problem we have is really everything they talked about. The problem is the limits to our fleet and drivers that have really talked about someone's going early, someone's going later kind of a thing, right? But there are some ideas in what if we staggered, and so there's some things out there, to be quite honest, because our enrollment's down a little bit, maybe we could do some things differently. But with all that said, I think that's what I'm hearing, and I plan to take on through the superintendent's office with the board support of let's listen to our community, let's get input, and then let's get the data we need to make a decision about the following year.
Yeah, I feel like the biggest issue that I remember back in 2017 was literally fleet and staffing. And it would be really interesting, even to put a small amount of funding toward like an expert in that field who could look at some other models.
Yeah,
for us.
It's exactly, that was the main issue. The main issue was last time when we went through this and listened to our community, when our fleet's out, our fleet's out. So we go high school, the fleet's out and the driver's out. It's kind of, that's all in. Then it does middle school, then it does elementary. So the issue is someone's going early, right? So, and really what we did then on that model is we asked our community, okay, what if elementary went early? What if middle? What if, and during that time in 2017 when we had the community halls and listening, it was like, no, we don't want to, from our community, we heard that pretty loud and clear, was we don't want our elementary going that early. We don't want this, we don't. So there, that was kind of where we were. There was some conversation about work. There were conversation about athletics, like you brought up. But really, the bigger thing is someone has to go early. Now, could we bump it all back? Yes, but now whoever goes late, it goes that much later as well. So that's the problem. Is there's this kind of win-lose mentality to it versus how do we develop a system maybe where it's. And I think rather than having 3 routes, if you think about the fleet out 3, if we could somehow get it to where the fleet's out twice, maybe there's a way that we could split anyway. So
Well, other districts too, I mean, use TriMet more. And I'm curious, again, as a parent my teenagers opt for TriMet over the school bus 9 times out of 10 because it's more direct and faster a lot of times for them. And so I'm curious about like the economic impact, the reality of saying, do we have a blended model with TriMet options? I know that that's also a can of worms, but I am wondering about, the possibility of maybe that being part of a solution too.
Also, I live at 122nd and Burnside, and I would not have my kids at those stops.
Right.
So it's an equity issue to me.
Yeah.
Again, I think putting together a study committee and asking board, it's almost another board committee, right? Having a few representatives from the board for us to think about and talk about and go through listening to our community. I think by the end of the year, we could have an informed information to make a decision. Yeah.
I'd love to see a couple of those high school students on that too, where they think about the decisions that they have to make, that we have to make.
I also think just financially, if we do push back the end time of school, thinking about parents and the cost savings of childcare, when school ends early, you have that extra, like, especially for the elementary groups, you have that extra time. And so, like, I know right now we're at 3:30 ending, but I just think there could be more positive implications than just more sleep for the kids, just economically for parents. So.
Yeah. When I talked to Ken about this, pretty much what I want to see is just how it would work. Like, let's assume we're going to do it. What are the different ways it could work? And see those are actually feasible. I know other school districts do it. Other school districts also outsource their busing. So they don't have fleets to worry about because they do that. But because we don't, we're able to do a lot of things because we have our buses too, right? So there are a lot of moving pieces that we have to look at. But I'd love for us to find a way forward. Any more reflection and public comment?
Yeah, I do appreciate our community member coming and talking about the issue of safety when it comes to e-scooters. I don't know what the solution would be. He indicated maybe like increased guidance around signage and safety requirements. I don't know if we wanted to maybe partner with local community businesses to do like offer helmets to kids. Like, I'm very open. I think, like, I agree. I've seen, it's scary, and we know in the emergency rooms, if you asked a doctor, what would you recommend? Don't get on the e-bikes. People are not wearing helmets. So I take that really seriously, and I would be open to coming up with some solutions that would be beneficial.
So we are one thing, we are currently in the process of talking about and adding e-scooters, to signage, not allowed. Now, signage, I think, is only one small thing, but we are I don't know if Andy, if you want to share anything or not, but our facilities managers, Lance, and we're talking about that, and we will be upgrading or changing our signs and doing some things. I personally think it's a lot bigger than that. I think we're talking city council, we're talking the county, we need to have some conversations. So I'm agreeing with you that it's very serious. I mean, you see kids that I don't know how old they are on 122nd on those things with nothing. It's scary. So what we can do to help with signage, though, maybe what we can do around newsletters and communication and helping families understand. But I do think it's a bigger citywide conversation we need to be involved in.
Yeah, I appreciated Craig's testimony there. And that actually came, pretty much what he said came from our elementary principals meeting with them this summer, that they brought up the danger, exactly what you said, Sarah, and asked, ironically, is there any way we can somehow communicate to the public the dangers of this? So it was kind of ironic that Craig presented that. So as Ken said, we're working on it, although a sign may not be the answer, but at least it's something we can fall back on.
But also I feel like the issue of like, in the interim, kids are going to be on the bike. So can we offer, like, even if they can't have it on school grounds, like, can we partner and offer helmets because they're going to be riding them? So I don't know. I kind of feel like it's always the
There might
public
be
health
some
debate.
education to do too, because e-bikes are not, there's different levels of e-bike. And what I've seen are mini and pocket bikes that are literally illegal on public roads. And so I'm curious if that's a place to start with just our community and families, is letting parents and families know, you know, this is what e-bikes are. You have to be a certain age to ride certain e-bikes too.
Yeah, you're supposed to be 16.
Yeah,
and
then
we
14,
have plenty.
They're lowering it to 14 soon.
Oh.
And then the helmet law applies to even those e-scooters that you can rent, but I never see anybody wearing a helmet. So I have neighbors who have pocket bikes for their elementary kids, and my child is like, why can't I ride that? I'm like, let me just show you some information. So then, you know, that could be where we start. It's just educating.
I think, I don't know, maybe Ida, if we could invite a community group to whenever in the schools they set up and we come and visit and back to school nights or whatever, and have the e-bike table.
Just like the general messaging that goes out, right? You get a lot of information a couple times a year. Some of the elementary schools have newsletters. I mean, it's just reminder, you know, because it is a major problem and it does scare me. And those are our kids. We've had students.
Yeah, we can definitely help communicate. And what we can do.
Do we have any rules around like not allowing, I know talking about the signage for being on the tracks, but I'm thinking more about kids riding them to school actually. Do we have any rules against or anything at all, like about a kid showing up on a e-scooter, e-bike, riding through the parking lot?
They're really not allowed on campus
At all?
in general. Yeah, we don't have that I know of a hard rule that says don't ride them to school. But by them not being allowed on campus, we could technically, if someone shows up with one, we could call the parents and say, "Hey, these aren't allowed. Can you come pick it up?" So,
I mean,
yeah.
it may, I don't know how effective it may be, but sometimes when there's like a sense of like, no, we don't allow them because they're very dangerous, then it kind of can have people start thinking and talking a little bit more holistic or, you know, naturally about it. It might be worth at least thinking about. I do worry. A lot of times, actually just coming down this road onto 122nd, the siblings with 3-4-year-olds on their back and nobody with a helmet going on to 122nd. Yeah, it's really, it's not, it's really unsafe, and I would like us to do, to have more of an approach to it. But again, I don't know. Those things go so fast.
Do we have any partnerships with bicycle shops, or donation of bicycles? Because it could be an equity question too. Like, this is how I get to school. My parent can't take me. I don't have a bike. I got this from my uncle. I don't know if there's something.
some of our Sun managers at the elementary level, they have a partnership with Community Cycling Center, and in the last 5 years, we've been partnering with PBOT, Community Cycling Center, and a couple of other organizations to do the bike safety event. And in the last 3-4 years, we've done it at Ventura Park, and last year we did it at Menlo Park. And they give free helmets.
Do they give bikes?
Sorry?
Do they give bicycles?
No.
For Menlo Park.
They don't, but in the last couple of years, they've done some trainings with e-bikes. They allow adults to train or to ride an e-bike, and they go over some of the safety precautions.
Okay.
So just, I mean, this is a very serious topic. So, but I do want to, for fun, share. One of our cabinet members led their team through a team building activity where they bought bikes, built the bikes, and then they donated the bikes. So yeah, I'll let that person take ownership of that if they want to. But I'm kidding. It's Pat. She did it with her supervising team. So I'm thinking a board workshop. We could have some bikes. We do a team builder, build bikes together, and yeah.
That'd be so cool to also bring our kids and like. That'd be fun.
I am remembering that at the driver's ed class that that's held here at the high school, the trauma nurses that come in and show you all the scary pictures, they come with helmets too. So I don't know about the trauma nurses that are already tied into that program, but I'm sure they have some gnarly pictures and stories of things.
And I know some PTOs have given away bikes, because I know at Menlo Park the PTO has given away bikes as part of it. Cassie, did you have something to say?
Oh, yeah, I was going to share a little bit. Menlo has done the bike giveaways. They have donations. Menlo Park and Gilbert Heights has partnered with Community Cycling Center to do a bike club during their Sun Enrichment. And all of the students that participate in that get to take home their bike, their helmet, some gear, the bike locks, all of that. So they get all of that for free in the partnership with Community Cycling Center. And then the bike fair that Aide was talking about that we do annually, the trauma nurses come out and they not only give helmets, but they also fit the helmet. So they make sure that it's fitted properly. They have pedestrian safety, bike, like road safety, learn to ride, and then community rides to be able to use those skills in real time. So the opportunities are there, but definitely could be increased.
Thank you. I appreciate this conversation. I know signs are the least we can do, and I'm glad it went somewhere other than signs with education and helmets and things like that, because I've read about these issues even in our community. We had a bad accident in the last year, but none of them were near the schools. So the signs, yes, we should do that, but also the education, the helmets, yes, because the kids are getting hurt not by the school in general. Thank you. So anything else?
I have one more just remaining comment, and this might not be at all possible, but I'm just thinking for I always mix up our names, Gilbert Park that's starting late. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I just
Oh, no.
for Gilbert Park, I am thinking, is there any possibility or any partnerships we have for potential childcare? I'm thinking of those parents that were planning on, having their kiddos at school and maybe have to make additional work accommodations, or just, last minute struggling for childcare. If there's any kind of like maybe Sun or Alpha Best, I don't know.
We've talked about that as well. It's on our
Thank you.
checklist.
Thank you.
We don't have an answer for it yet, but it is one of the things that we're trying to solve and maybe support. Yes.
Thank you. Now, board liaison and committee reports. Before we move on to that, if you want your board liaison or committee assignment to be changed, please talk to me, because now is when I will make those changes with Althea. So if you don't tell me you want it to be changed, it'll either be the same or you will magically find yourself in a spot that I need to fill. So Now, if anyone has reports.
Director Ender organized a field trip to meet the facilities group and HR. And we had a great time. We learned a lot from the facilities crew and all the good work they do and their transportation. Learned from Lance, whose last name I can't remember. Schweitzer, thank you, Mr. Schweitzer. The painting the issue is because of lead, and so keep that in mind. Lead is the reason that paint is weird around the district properties is because of lead, and there's always a chance that somewhere deep in the layers on this wall is a layer of lead paint, and if you disturb it, you've now released lead, and so that's just something they have to keep in mind, and you have to be properly trained in lead paint handling and exposure, and so that's why it's kind of a pain in the butt to paint, is one of the reasons. The color palette's the other reason, but one of the reasons is just it's just lead.
And now we'll add to that, Director Ender was very busy and also set up meetings with HR and payroll. And I tagged along to all of them because like, you're setting them up, I can just go. It was great. Got to meet the people in the departments and hear more about what they do, where they're struggling, what's going great. I had a great time. I know you were a couple of those as well. It was good. I will give you an update with OSBA stuff. I don't give that many updates, but OSBA just had a day-long retreat for governance. OSBA came out of that with recommendations that are going to be voted on in September by the board and then maybe hitting you here. But they're talking about doing big changes for how OSBA is governed. I will say I was very glad when that came out of that meeting because I came into it very nervous because OSBA rides that fine balance of every school district in the state is under OSBA's umbrella. So you have to cater to both really progressive districts that are unicorns, like that have certain values, certain things, and then the ones with a completely different set of values. So you'll see whatever comes out. My hope is that it's good when it gets here. But just to give you a heads up about that.
I would just like to request to have 30 seconds last before you adjourn. I don't know if we're done with reports or not.
Any other? No? Okay.
Okay. I forgot in my superintendent's report that we have two other individuals to recognize and say thank you to. We have an individual that served as board chair that now is sitting way over there. So I hope, seriously, I don't want to make light of it, but I know we're at the end of the meeting, but two individuals, both our chair, and each year we have a tradition to just say thank you for all the extra time, the extra effort. I know you continued, shifted over a little bit, but the reality is your leadership is invaluable. It helps steer the direction of the entire district, not just the board. So truly appreciate both of you, all you did last year. Look forward to what you're going to do this year. But the members of the David Douglas School Board extend their appreciation to Heather Franklin for outstanding leadership as school board chair, and the members of the David Douglas School Board extend their appreciation to Jose Gomero Georgeson for outstanding leadership as school board vice chair 25-26. So thank you both for that, for all you do. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Before we adjourn, I will say that the David Douglas School Board will meet in executive session on Thursday, August 13, 2026 at 8:45 p.m. in the David Douglas School Board District Boardroom located at 1500 Southeast 130th Avenue, Portland, Oregon, in accordance with ORS 192.660 2D collective bargaining and 2E property. But the meeting is now adjourned.